Hello, everyone. I'm so happy to be back with you guys. I'm your host, Raquel Sade. Welcome to the Upper Room Community Podcast, where you're here to be elevated in mindset, habit, and spirit. I just want to say thank you. Thank you for all you guys' support. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for liking and leaving beautiful comments. I'm so very grateful. And I'm just hoping that you guys learned something, even if it was a small nugget. I'm hoping that it will sprout into something beautiful in you guys' life. I'm hoping that this outlet is something that's going to propel you to the next level in your life, and something that will just help you walk in your greatness and operate in that knowing that you are great and you're created to do immaculate things on this earth, not just for yourself, but for everybody else. Today, we're going to be talking about what is holding you back, and just jump right in. What can we do? What can we address in this moment that is potentially delaying you, that is potentially keeping you away from what it is you're supposed to be doing in this time? And how can we just prune those things off so that you can operate in what it is that you're called to do to the fullest? So as we sit here right now, one thing that should be addressed is what exactly is holding you back from operating in what you know you're supposed to be doing during this season. Is that fear? Is it anxiety? Is it laziness? And what can you shift in your mind to get you to actually walk in those things so that you don't miss your window of opportunity? Fear and anxiety are blockades that can potentially keep you away from seizing your moment of opportunity. There's so many times that we let our emotions dictate how we run things, when in fact an emotion is not a dictator, but an emotion is an indicator of what should be addressed, and addressing the root cause of these things so that you can cast those imaginations down, cast those thoughts down, and operate in the fullness of what you know you're supposed to be doing in this season to better not only yourself, but better those around you. When looking at fear, it is defined as a distressing emotion aroused by impending danger, evil, pain, or etc., whether that threat is real or imagined. When looking at anxiety, anxiety is defined as a feeling of worry, nervousness, or unease, typically about an imminent event or something with an uncertain outcome. One thing fear and anxiety have in common is that it can be triggered by an outcome that you do not even know to be the truth. A lot of the times we get anxiety or fear about the unknown, especially when it comes to doing something that you know in your heart you're called to do, and you know that you're called to bring something to the table. You're called to showcase your talent, showcase your work. A lot of the times, that fear and that anxiety creeps in and can potentially delay you and block you from doing what it is that you know you were created to do for this season. And we let that unknown trickle in our minds and stifle our growth. And that just reminds me of what Job said in the book of Job, that the very thing he feared came upon him. And that definitely caused me to realize that a lot of the times what we fear can come upon us because we're spending so much time meditating on those thoughts, meditating on those unknown outcomes that we don't even know to be true. But since we're spending so much time thinking and pondering on those things, we're actually curating those thoughts to come to pass. Which is why faith and fear cannot mix together, because when you're fearing something, you're essentially meditating on that very thing you don't want to happen, versus meditating on the truth, meditating on what you know you are called to do, and meditating on the goodness that is coming out of that. One common example of that is fear based on what others might think. You might be starting something new that you've never done before, and sometimes you can spend so much time curating that thing to everybody else's perceived likeness, you actually miss your window of opportunity. And one example that I can give you guys for that is with fashion content. Like, there's been times that I was supposed to post a certain item and I delayed on that, having too many thoughts of what I think should go right or how I think I should operate. And what I thought in the beginning was perfect. And when I actually went through with posting that item, the item soon became heavily saturated. Versus when I had an idea about a certain item and I immediately acted on that idea and posted it, I made it ahead of the trend. So after those two experiences, I told myself, like, I cannot delay myself anymore, because I actually saw the outcome of posting an item before it started trending and seeing the benefits of that versus being on the other side of that. And I actually got the item before it started trending, but it was too late because I talked myself out of it and I delayed myself from doing what I know I should have been doing in the first place. Ideas are available to anyone who's willing to listen, and is not subjected to just one individual. In fact, ideas pan out and they work for the person who is willing to act out on that idea as soon as it was planted in their mind. And whoever is the first person to act out on that is the one who will reap the most benefits from acting out as soon as they received that idea. And that actually made me think about what Paul said in 1 Corinthians 9 verse 24. It says, "Do you not know that in a race all runners compete, but only one receives the prize? So run your race that you may lay hold of the prize and make it yours." So there's so many people that come across ideas. There's been so many instances where someone had an idea and you sat on the idea, you thought you had enough time, and then sooner or later you find out, wow, somebody had the same idea and acted out on it. There's too many times where we second guess those ideas. And the reason why those ideas pop up in your head at the moment is because it's time for you to act out on that idea in that very moment. It's time for you to plan it out. It's time for you to prepare. It's time for you to map these things out so that it can come into fruition. Do not neglect those ideas that come into your head. Every time you have an idea, the Bible says to make your vision plain, write it down so that you can, anybody who reads it can run with it. Write down those ideas, curate them, build them up so that they can actually come up in the physical realm, and everybody who needed that idea can benefit from it. Do not delay on those ideas that pop up in your head, because they are there for a reason, and it's important that you do act out on it, because you're not the only person that's probably received that idea. And those ideas are coming to whoever is willing to listen to the idea and act out on it. And you got to be sensitive to that and know that we're in a race. We're in it to win. So when you get something, you're not about to just lay down with it and delay it, because you're going to miss your window. So you have to act out on those ideas immediately. At least try to curate it the best way you know how. And if you need help, find your help. If you need to do research, do your research, but do whatever it is to act that thing out, so that you can be benefited from it as well as everybody else who the idea is for as well. Everything has a season. Of course, there's a season to reap and there's a season to sow, but you have to be sensitive to what season you're supposed to be operating in that time. And if you let fear or complacency or laziness or procrastination get in the way, you definitely will miss your season, because one thing for certain is that seasons change. They do not stay the same, and you have to change along with those seasons. Now, if our earth is operating on change, a constant change, on a constant shift of seasons, then why should we stay in that one season for such a long time? We need to be moving one with what the earth is doing, because clearly God set out these systems, these perfect systems that we can look at and take lessons from, and knowing that being in a state of consistent change is how you grow and is how you reap the benefits of what it is that you're supposed to be doing during that time. And of course, there are waiting seasons, but it's how you wait that makes all the difference. In Isaiah 40, verse 31, it says, "But those who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint." That word wait in the original language Hebrew is kavah. And kavah means to wait actively with anticipation, hopefully watching. So the kind of wait that it was speaking about was definitely not just sitting around and waiting for something to happen, but you're actively waiting. That means you're actively doing something. You're actively operating and knowing that this thing is coming. So you're preparing yourself. You're making yourself ready so that when it does come to pass, you're actually in the place to handle that promise that was given to you. You're actually able to handle what it is that you know you were called to do in that moment. Because a lot of times, yes, we do get ideas, but those ideas are for a certain season. But when you get the idea, maybe it's not for a time for you to act out on that idea specifically in that moment, but it's time for you to prepare yourself to be ready to act out on that idea. Maybe that calls for you to read more. Maybe that calls for you to pray more. Maybe that calls for you to get different certifications or just get better at a certain talent. But whenever you get an idea, you're supposed to either wait with expectancy, but in that waiting season, you're actively preparing for that new season to come to pass. Or you get the idea and you run with it right away because you are already prepared. But you have to in yourself know which one you're called to do. Are you called to wait and prepare yourself for this new season to come? Or are you supposed to act out on that idea right away? And I heard this quote one time from a man named Marty Blackwelder. And he said that the highest form of human captivity is wrong thinking. And I know that might be triggering for some people. Some people might not want to hear that. But it is very true in terms of how just looking in life, looking in our environments, being from New York, there's a lot of people that I talk to and it's like they let their circumstances rule them. And you can definitely tell by how somebody speaks and how somebody thinks on certain instances, on certain topics pertaining to their own lives. Because we do have the control over our lives, whether we want to believe that or not. We have the control to make our lives greater, make our lives stay the same, or make our lives worse. So the one thing that can keep us captive is very much our thinking and our mindsets. Those things can very much keep us in the same place or even digress in life. And I know some people might not want to hear this, but the difference between a person in wealth and the difference between a person in poverty is not the money they have, but the mindset they carry, the mindset that is within them and how they're operating with their mind and their thoughts and their emotions and their will to live. 88% of millionaires are self-made. This means that they did not inherit their wealth, nor did they win it in a lottery, or did they receive their inheritance as a gift. They became millionaires through their own efforts and through taking advantage through certain opportunities. Now, I'm not negating the fact that there are certain people that can be connected to better opportunities, or there are people that are more connected to opportunities than others. But since you know that is the case, that's even more of a reason to operate in a mindset that does not let the fear of man or let a potential no keep you from finding opportunities and bettering yourself in different areas and finding different outlets that can help propel you to the next level. In fact, you should tailor your mindset so well that any no that you hear should fuel you to find the next yes. Too many of us tend to let that fact that there are certain people connected to opportunities easier than the next actually become a reality in our own lives, in terms of allowing that to give you a defeatist mindset and gives you an excuse to be like, well, there's other people that are connected easier, so I have to work much harder. Instead of having that defeatist mindset, use that to propel you, use that as a strength to keep your endurance high, because that endurance will take you very far in life. That endurance will take you in areas that other people were not able to get to because they didn't have that same mindset that you had, in terms of not letting a no stop you, but in fact letting that no become fuel for you to actually find more yeses, to actually find the next yes that can take you from one level to the next. One man that I actually follow pertaining to sales, his name is Myron Golden, such a wise man and such a wise man of God. But he's definitely said that he doesn't let a no deter him, and he doesn't let a no propel him to a defeatist mindset. In fact, because he knows in sales you're going to get no's, that gave him the strength to know that the more people he talked to, the more yeses he would get. He wouldn't pay attention to the no's, but every time he heard a no, he's flipped his mindset to say, oh, all right, well, now that's pushing me closer to my yes. And that was so profound to me, because that was the first time I've actually really heard that. And I'm like, yo, that's such a powerful mindset, because every time you hear a no, that very much gives you the fuel to say, all right, I'm even closer to my yes. Like every time something doesn't work out pertaining to what it is that you're supposed to be doing, that should be fuel for you to realize that, whoa, this one didn't work out. But since that one didn't work out, I know what to do next that will get me closer to that product or to that thing that will actually set me way ahead. And even with myself, in terms of creating content, like it might not hit on some, but before I used to have a defeated mindset. I used to get frustrated. I used to say, yo, like I'm putting out this great stuff and nobody's, sharing my stuff, or nobody's tapping in, nobody's seeming interested. But instead, like, because I know this is something I'm supposed to be doing, like that just propels me, like, all right, I did this one, now it's on to the next, because I'm already walking in expectancy, because I know that this is going to take me to another level. So the other ones that don't look like my promise, I don't even pay attention to that, because in fact, it's actually curating me, it's actually preparing me and helping me grow, so that when I do enter into my promise, I have everything I need in order to sustain that thing and keep that thing going. And because you know that you are a person that is connected to power inside and out, you should know for a fact that, as Cindy Trim would say, you don't adjust to circumstances. Circumstances adjust to you. And that's so powerful to have a mindset like that. Like you don't let anything that looks different than what that promise God gave you take you out. Like you don't let anything outside, anything that doesn't look like what you know you're called to do in excellence, you don't let that deter you, because at the end of the day, those factors do not matter. Those factors should not keep you stagnant, but those factors should keep you going, because in fact, the more you operate in it, the more you continue to practice, the more you continue to operate in what you know you're called to do, it's gonna hit. Is going to hit one day, and you should not let any of those outside factors or those things that don't really look like the promise keep you from the promise, because the promise is coming. You just got to keep going, keep that endurance, because why? The Lord will strengthen those who wait on him. So during my time of really like a time of elevation and a time of changing my mindset, this book right here, let me get closer to the camera so y'all can see it. And for y'all who are listening, this book is called A Fork in the Road by Vidar Lagarde. And when I tell you, like, this book is about choosing poverty or choosing prosperity in your life. This book is pure gold. Pure gold. It gives you practical steps to win at life. Simply put as that. This book has some gems. And this definitely has helped me along the way in elevating my mind. One thing that I also learned from that book is it's definitely like a marker that's showing you where you are and how you can move to the next level. And there's definitely, of course, there were some areas that I needed to grow in, but it definitely did show me too that, all right, I'm going the right way. I'm in the right direction. I'm actually pretty proud. I never want to settle, and leaders are definitely learners. And that's one thing that he also specified in this book as well, and confirmed that, like, being a leader, you always have to learn. And that's something that's always going to be a part of life. And the moment you stop learning, you're behind, because the world is constantly changing. Like we talked about in the beginning, like seasons change and the world is constantly changing as well. And we need to constantly be changing and constantly be caught up on the systems that are changing in this world, so that we're not left behind. But in fact, we need to be 10 steps ahead. And one way to do that is by consistently learning, consistently pruning off those old habits, pruning off the things that don't work for you, but building new habits that will propel you. And something he said in the book that definitely resonated with me was, most times opportunities are disguised as hard work. Now, if that wasn't something I needed to hear in that moment, and I'm sure that's something we all need to hear, because again, talking about that mindset pertaining to some people being connected to opportunities more than others, at the end of the day, we all got to work to get to where we're supposed to, and we shouldn't let anybody else being connected to an opportunity easier than the next stop us from finding opportunities for ourselves. Because a lot of people, especially now with the social media era, it really social media really much tricks our minds into thinking that, like, there's no hard work that needs to go in having stability in life. And that's very much a lie. Like, anything we do in life is going to be tailored in the beginning to hard work. Like, you need endurance, and you need strength, and you need persistence and consistency to accelerate you to the next level. If you don't have that, and if you're stuck on lazy, if you're stuck on procrastination, you're not going to make it, because this is survival of the fittest out here. Like, having wealth and having stability, having security, and not having to depend on the government or depend on any outside sources besides yourself, that takes hard work. And that's one thing, like, I be needing, like, our communities to realize that there's different types of hard work, but hard work that pushes you to another level, not hard work that tires you out and makes you sick. Because that is something that, that is promoted in the United States, like working for 40 years and then retiring when you're old. But I feel like, personally, retirement is a man-made system. Like, you should always be working. Working keeps you alive. Like, the first thing God did when he created us was he told us to work, to be fruitful, to multiply, to have dominion, and to subdue over the earth. Like, we were created to be workers. But the difference is, you're supposed to be working in your niche, working in your area that you're called to cultivate, and not necessarily work all your life to build up another man's dream. In the beginning, when you are finding out what you're created to do, when you are building yourself up, it will sometimes start like you are building up somebody else's dream. But while you're doing that building, they can be disguised in opportunities. And also, while you're doing that building, it can actually teach you what you need for when you're actually building in your area that you're called to build in. For an example, like the job that I was working at, the job that I was working at very much taught me what to do and what not to do in terms of when I actually start building up another area of my life that I know I'm called to be operating in. And that caused me to build up somebody else's dream. But I was there for a season to learn so that when I'm working in my business, I know how to effectively run it in excellence and not making shortcuts and not finding a way out, a easy way out, and just trying to make quick money and not caring for the lives that I'm called to affect. Like, it definitely might be hard work for a season, but you should always let your why keep you going and motivate you to keep working at it. And what I mean by your why, really sit down and figure out why you are doing this thing, why you are working where you're working, why you are studying as hard as you're studying, why you are working long hours, or why you are spending long hours working on a particular craft. Why were you called to do that? And were you called to do that to help someone else? Were you called to do that to help yourself? Like, those things are very important in figuring out why you're doing this thing, because when times get hard and when you're tired, you can continuously think on that why. Like, you know what? I'm going to stand firm because I'm here to do ABC. I'm here to bless a multitude of people. I'm here to help people get out of the mindset of poverty. I'm here to fill in the gap. Why are you here? Why are you doing what you're doing? Have a purpose behind what it is that you are doing so that you can have the strength to keep going behind that. And if you know that you are called to do something greater than yourself, then you should know for a fact that whatever it is you're doing will succeed, because you have that mindset of adding value to others, adding resources to others in need, adding something that will not only take you to the next level, but again, taking the people that you're called to help to the next level as well. Most people who aren't doing something for a cause outside of themselves, or are working a particular area just for the sake of money, burn out quickly because they don't have a firm foundation and they don't have a solid foundation to stand on in times of trouble, which is why figuring out why you're doing something is so important. However, when you're operating with a cause, it will keep you focused and persistent on the road to prosperity. And we just have to, again, focus on why we're doing this thing, why we were called to do this, why we feel it in our soul that this is something we were made to do for this season. If it's not even for your whole life, maybe there's something you are called to do right now, or something you are called to do just for a season to help somebody in need in that moment. But continuously focus on the why. Focus on why you are doing what you are doing in this very moment. And that should be enough fuel to keep you in times of trouble, to keep you in times of exhaust, and to keep you from burning out, because you realize it's bigger than yourself. Now, when you're doing something just purely for the sake of yourself, or purely for something dull and nothing that's actually deep rooted, you will be weeded out and plucked out very quickly. So that's why it's important to have a solid foundation, to be planted very deep, so that in times of turbulence, in times of high waters and high troubles, you are firm and you are planted still in that area. You're not moving and you're not shaking, although things around you might be. Just stay consistent, stay on that path, on that road to prosperity, and keep that mindset of knowing that things are bigger than yourself. And I promise things will work out in your favor. It might not be right now in this moment, and it might be right now in this moment. There's a lot of suddenlies, because all of a sudden something will change. All of a sudden something will break. All of a sudden things will work out in your favor. And just keep on pushing on, because at the end of the day, there's hard work behind making your dream come into fruition, and actually not even thinking of it as a dream, but making that reality come to pass. And I hope that you guys learned something from this. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share with a friend, share with somebody that you know would be blessed from hearing this, that somebody that you know this will very much benefit their lives. Just don't forget to share this word, because so many of us I know will need any aspect of this message. I love you guys, and I will see you guys on the next episode.